Hey everyone, today I'll be showing you how to stitch your Teradek GoPro Hero 4 rig. This will consist of a few steps that I'll go through in depth. Alright, so I've added my streams, and now I need to rotate all of them, which I will do here. I've rotated them all from right to left as the cameras are set up on their side. So I'll rotate them left. As you can see, I've got doesn't matter what inputs I put them in because I could drag these around if I needed to, and that sets us up to start. Once I'm in here, as we're using the GoPro, our GoPro rig, it's gonna be pretty close to how I want it to look when we're done stitching, but as you can see, the color's off. There's a few sort of inconsistencies if I center this line here where there's just little variations in the mount. So that's what we're gonna correct for here. So again, a little bit of adjustment needed. Kind of close. I can hit this reset button to just bring the view back up here. So to start with the GoPros, I'm actually going to turn on auto color matching. A few different settings here: tint, luma balance, and color balance. All of these can be toggled on and off to just do the color, luma for the brightness, and the tint if you have a camera that, say, looks more green or red, that can be toggled here. What the sensitivity value underneath is going to do is change how quickly that's going to adjust. So if I turn on auto color matching, you'll very slowly see all the colors in the video start to kind of match up with each other. Generally not perfect to start because we've got lights in one position versus the other. If I turn this sensitivity way up and toggle the auto color matching, you'll see that it goes a lot quicker. For moving shots, increased sensitivity will help adjust if your cameras are continuously adjusting like these GoPros. That's more or less it for that. Luma balance I can turn on, does a very similar thing but with the brightness. And overall it can do pretty good, but it may overcompensate. As you see, the center at the top of this image now is getting quite dark as it tries to bounce with this completely overexposed image on the right. So I'll turn that off. I'll reset that for now, turn on the color matching, and we'll leave it there. We can always tweak it later. We save the lens correction and the stitching settings separate from the manual and the auto color settings. So if I change anything with the color matching, I can actually save that independent of whether or not I've saved the changes. Say I adjust the zoom on my cameras. If I reset that, it doesn't reset the changes that I've done to the auto color. So it is still auto color, just something to be aware of. These are together, lens correction and stitching versus manual color and auto color. Let's talk about how we're going to make the stitch line up a little better. Like I mentioned before, the app defaults to, when you're using it with our GoPro rig, to settings that are pretty close. So I don't actually have to change any of the zoom, which you would use if your camera is a very wide angle lens or not, or the distortion ratio, which adapts for different shapes of different lenses. As you can see, my image is going to get kind of warped. I'm just going to reset these by hitting this cancel changes because the defaults in the app are the defaults for the GoPro cameras that we're using. Under here, I have additional options for pixel aspect ratio, which I can adjust here. This would be more if you're using a camera with an odd sensor, lens center. And I have all my cameras selected right now, so you can see it affecting all of them. The lens center if the it's a specialty lens that doesn't line up on the center of the camera, can move it. Lens center Y is the same, but notice it's left and right here because my sources are rotated. And then the widen angle setting, which again is going to be for some strange lens or uncommon lens. So I'm going to cancel all those changes. Right now we're still at the defaults for all of these settings: zoom, distortion ratio. So I'm going to unselect all of them. Notice I haven't changed anything, so nothing happens when I hit the Save Changes button. If I do, say I do change something, let's adjust something here. Say if this camera's a little off angle, my 1 and 2 cameras. If I do try and exit without saving, it will prompt me to save the changes. So don't worry, unless you hit the home screen and actually exit out of the app, it will preserve your changes. Okay, so now what we're going to do is try and correct minor variations in the rig, and because the cameras aren't 100% secure, any little angle change is going to affect that and affect the stitch line. So let's start with kind of our most obvious problem here. I'll just zoom in real close to show you. That's where what we're looking at. It's on top of our office right now. And then where the camera ends, we have a little bit more of that here. So I've centered it on the screen. So what that looks like, with the left side higher and the right side lower, we just need to adjust the pitch of our camera. So let's zoom back in on the camera, and now we're going to adjust the pitch. So we're going to see it rotating there. So what I can do now is get that kind of close. Yeah, see, almost there, but not quite. And then if I touch and hold on these minus or plus buttons, I can actually go in and fine tune that adjustment. See how it's going a little bit further off. So let's come back. And now that looks pretty good. So I'll close in here. We can just check that. And we'll work on the blending a little bit later, but for now I'm just looking at that air conditioner. And that looks about right. So now let's zoom back out. Let's just double check the other mark. Actually, it looks a little bit low, but we won't worry about that. Let's just check our next. The reason I'm not going to worry too much about this piece here that I have centered in the screen is because we also have a little bit of a problem with our camera 2, which is to the left of 3. So let's select that. Now we're going to adjust this. And see it swinging back and forth. So we'll do the same again. We're going to get that close. And now we're good here up close at this handrail, but we're way off with the thing in the back. So what we can do now is kind of adjust a little bit of both. So you're going to adjust both the roll and the pitch of these two sources until you can actually line up both the handrail and the wall in the back and the air conditioner. It can be a little bit tricky, and if it often ends up helping to actually push the cameras within the rig if they're not seated just right, but we can usually end up getting pretty close. So I'm going to start back from scratch. And we're gonna let's start with camera 2 now. Let's adjust the pitch a little to get that handrail lined up. And then let's back off a little bit and now adjust the roll. So let's do this without fine adjustments. So you see now both edges, the handrail and the wall in the back, are too low. So now I can adjust the roll to bring it up. Now it looks pretty close to being good. So now I'm going to do the same with my air conditioner. I'm going to adjust the pitch first. To get that a little close. Now I'm going to back off and adjust the roll. And let's adjust that fine. And then let's save that because that's going to be much closer than it was before. You see, pretty close with the air conditioner, pretty close with the wall in the background, and pretty close with the handrail. So often the adjustment is start with the pitch, get it so one edge lines up, back it off a little bit, and then adjust the roll. And again, once you get it nice and close on all the edges, you can long press to tweak it. Okay, so let's see how the rest of it looks. Not too bad. We'll see way off in the distance. That's I guess that's Laguna Beach that we're looking at, or the mountains on the way to Laguna Beach. We have a little bit off there, which also means we're probably going to be a little bit off on the left side, so I may end up having to adjust that handrail again. This is now source 1, so the far left edge that wraps around to the right. So we're going to take our pitch, we're going to pitch it up a little bit. See, we're a little down, and then we're going to back off, and then we're going to roll it up. Actually gets me a little too close, so let's back that down. So still just gently tweaking this. And then our mountain in the background is getting pretty close. I'm not going to worry about that for right now. Let's just tweak our source 4, which is right in the center of our screen now. So it looks like the mountain's a little high and the air conditioner is a little low. So let's take our source 4 and we're just going to tweak that. So now we can take a quick look around. And so the color's still a little bit off, but for the most part, that looks pretty good. So if we look up and down, we see this circle because our sphere GoPro rig doesn't cover the top or the bottom. You can adjust all 4 sources at once. And these circles are actually just where we set the bottom and the top edge. So the top edge, I can start high up or lower. I can adjust that to wherever the image cuts off. I can also fade that if I want. It looks a little better if you actually have an image versus just a blank. So what we typically like to do is wait till we lose our nice circle where it cuts off so we get an even straight line. Do the same thing at the bottom where we can see a little bit of the intersection missing. So we're going to start our edge a little bit higher by moving it up. So let's just cut that off. And I'll save that. Let's pop it back out. And there's our panorama. So that's pretty much everything you need to do for the GoPro rig. And just to summarize, lens correction for the GoPros is going to be set to the defaults. So none of these need to be changed from their defaults. These advanced options don't need to be changed for pretty much any of the lenses that we've seen, but the options are there. And the best way to see what they do is to actually just slide them up and down and then reset by canceling the changes. For the GoPro rig, mainly what I do, select all four. I don't need to worry about the translation. I don't need to worry about the left and right edges. You may tweak that depending on what's in your view. It's mainly a balance between the pitch. So start with the pitch, adjust that, back it off a little bit, and then adjust the roll. So to repeat that, if I select source 3 again, so source 3 selected, I have pitch. I'm just going to reset this field. I'm going to reset this field. So now we're back to where we started. So now I need to adjust my pitch and then adjust my roll to get it set. So what I can do, so let's go back. I'll start with it a little ways off. So you can see we're way off now. So we're going to adjust our roll. To bring this wall pretty straight, but now I see that this edge is wrong. So I'm going to adjust the pitch. So now if I adjust it so where the air conditioner is right, my left wall is too much. So I adjust it so that both are too high here, and then I adjust the roll to drop it down. You may have to do this a couple times. So adjust the pitch, and then adjust the roll, and then I just tap to fine tune it. So back the pitch off, roll down. Adjust the pitch, roll up. And that'll get us pretty close. We'll view it one more time. So there you have it. That's how you stitch your Teradek GoPro Hero 4 rig in the Sphere app.